Good morning. Just wanted to come back with a Steve's Sermon Short. And it's been a while since I've done a normal one just like this, where I talk about where I am in my Bible read, my personal Bible time. And I'm reading in the book of Esther. Now, if some of y'all are familiar with the book of Esther, you know kind of the premise of this is that the king, who's not a very good man, let's really be honest, has been fed up with his wife, the Queen Vashti. Well, because she does not do something he wants her to do, he decides through decree that he's going to find a new queen. And he tries out all these girls throughout the kingdom, for lack of a better term. And what happens is they come across Esther. Esther is a Jewish girl who is the niece of Mordecai, who is taking care of her because her parents have passed away. Well, she finds favor with the king, and she becomes the new queen. And we look at that and we're like, that's not a really good story. I know sometimes people have really tried to spin this story and be like, oh, it's a romantic story. It probably was not a romantic story. It's one that we see that's very distasteful if we think about it. However, we do see how God can use even the most distasteful situations. Because we see what happens. Mordecai, her uncle, finds out what happens is that Haman, who is a king's official, is planning on killing all of the Jewish people. And so here we see this situation where the Jewish people, all of them, are being endangered by this king. And so Mordecai goes to Esther and is like, you're now the queen, and you need to do something with this. You need to talk to the king about this. You need to make sure that this doesn't happen. And she, of course, is very trepidatious about doing this because, it's like the king is kind of a kook. He's not really that good of a man. But Mordecai talks to her, and he says this to her in verse 14 of Esther 4. For if you keep silent this time, liberation and rescue will arise for the Jews from another place, and you and your father's household will perish. And who knows whether you have not attained royalty for such a time as this. This is probably one of the most famous verses from the book of Esther. And it just talks about that God has put you in this position right now for such a time as this. That you might take a difference and make a difference in what happens. And for those of y'all who know the book, you know that she does. But the thing is, it comes to us as well. There's going to be times that we're going to be in situations that maybe we don't find that palatable, that we don't really like, or that we're just like, why am I here right now? And it may be that God's putting you in that situation for that time, that he needs your temperament. He needs your ability, your stamina, whatever the case is. He needs your faith and that attitude and that position right then to accomplish his will. And it might be one of these things where this may be something that you just look at and you say, okay, yeah, I need to see it that way. Instead of looking at it from woe is me or I don't like where I'm at, to look at it and say, maybe I'm here because this is where God wants me to be right now to accomplish his purpose. Because every single one of us has a role to play. And for those of y'all in the book, you know that Esther does what she's supposed to do. And because of that, the Jewish people are saved. We all have an ability to do what God would have us to do. And we all have a position to be for such a time as this. All right? See y'all next week.